Coming up next on Walking with Dad.
Coming from the space that I didn't have a father, I know how important it is. And it's more important for me to be a present father and to be an active father than me to settle and allow slurs or disrespect to come in the way of my relationship, which I think a lot of men do.
And hello, and welcome to another great episode on today of Walking with Dad, where we give dads and fathers their opportunity to give their perspective about the significance of being in their family's life and in their children's life, where we celebrate Father's Day every single day, bringing the family back together one step at a time. Today, we have a great episode in store for you with the guest on today. I've actually known today's guest roughly since about high school for me. We actually went to the same high school. We ended up going to the same college. He's actually born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And he has been living in the 757, raised basically in the 757 ever since being the time that he actually did move here or down here to Virginia. I'll let him get a lot further into that. Besides knowing him through high school and college, us graduating together, anytime I think of the word experience, and you'll get a chance to hear what he's talking about that, I think of this individual. And without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others Mr. Jonathan J. King. Jay, how you doing, man?
What's up, Nate?
Man, I can't call it, man. I'm excited, bro. I'm excited to see you. Walking with Dad definitely welcomes you, and we appreciate you being here with us, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the invite, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
You early. You got me up early, man.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I mean, I just finished running, took my dog out, about to go get my daughter. She had a little sleepover. So I'm just doing dad stuff, man. It's Saturday, so it's relaxed, man. But definitely fitness and about to get some food after this. Definitely a little hungry after that 2-mile run, but all is well, man. How are things your way, man? I haven't seen you probably in person in probably years.
Yeah, man. So things are good. Things are well. My wife and I, we've just celebrated an anniversary recently. And from things that, over time of just catching up, just, home buyership, the typical.
Yeah, you just landed a home. You purchased a home, right?
Recently, yeah, with
congrats.
The tackle.
Yeah, that's a big hurdle, man, especially for millennials our age that went the school route and got dad and got all these different parameters, things going on. You don't see a lot of us getting homes in the timeline that we need to or should have or thought we should have or wanted. But at least getting it is really good, at least continuing that path and getting it is good.
For sure, yeah, man.
Yeah, so congrats, man. Congrats on that.
Appreciate that, man. But not so much of the day is about me. I want to let Walker hear about you a little bit more, man. So if you could, just a little bit, fill us in of a little bit about J. King, what you do and what you're about, man.
Yeah, man. So Jonathan King, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, late 80s. I then moved to Hampton, Virginia in the mid 90s with my mom. My mom was a single parent, young parent. She had me and my brother when she was very young, and then she had other kids at a later age as well. Growing up was tough, man. It was a single parent household. There was 4 of us living in the household. It was just tough. So that was the childhood. Fell in love with sports, so I came down to Hampton, Virginia. I didn't know Hampton, Virginia was a sports town and a nationally known town. So I get there the first year, and I think Allen Iverson is going to the league that year. And so, so I got to get a lot of experience in sports and got a lot of friends that, went on and played in NFL, NBA, and big places. So that was Hampton Roads growing up, really, really into sports, really into just being a kid, total opposite than New York, right? My first part of my first childhood was rough and city, and then you get to come to Virginia and we stand in this house and it's you guys were our neighbor, so it was a good balance to my childhood. And during my childhood I fell in love with architecture, man. Like, I fell in love with building, and I started I went to high school, and then I gravitated to AutoCAD, and fell in love with AutoCAD, that kind of gravitated me to what I did in college, which was architectural CAD and construction management, and that's what I got my dual degree in, and that's kind of what I do now. That's kind of landed me where I am now. So, I think roughly that's kind of where my childhood kind of into my professional career kind of landed me. So now I'm an owner, entrepreneur. I've been in the entrepreneurial space probably since I was 15. My first company was Hampton's Finest in Hampton, Virginia, which was an entertainment company with me and my friends and my mom. And we did events that kind of kept kids out of, doing, other things, I would say. And it kind of built a community around, where we grew up at, and kind of, made it fun to be, a kid around that age, if you remember going to one of our parties. So entrepreneurship has always been in me. So I currently own King Builders Group, which is a design build firm, and that's based in Norfolk, Virginia, and is based here in Baltimore. So I have 2 locations, and I also have Black Alumni Ball, which is a black tie event, because I always called myself a curator, even in high school, even in college, really more so college. I kind of started separating myself from the word promoter too much because I didn't really feel what I was doing was promoting a club. It was more so curating an experience for people. So Black Alumni Ball is kind of a dream for me because I've always wanted to curate experiences that matter. And Black Alumni Ball is a space that really matters in bringing Black alumni people, whether it's PWI or HBCU, together for a black tie event. So hopefully we can re-kick that off. But I own that as well. Not Your Typical Homecoming, which is a Norfolk State University branded homecoming that I came up with 10 years ago. And that was, again, something fun, something to highlight the university and our creativity, our own uniqueness. And it has blossomed to something that I couldn't foresee it to be even blossoming. So I think those are the core things that I'll say my core arms of my businesses, or different arms of ways I create revenue for myself as an entrepreneur. So I hope that won't too much.
No, man, I probably had to say that was like just enough, man. One thing real quick though, as far as Not Your Typical Homecoming, as far as, like you said, the past 10 years, do you happen to have like a timeline as far as like when it started to now, like pictures and whatnot? Because I know, like, looking on social media last year, there was like no green on the lawn that you could see at all. It was like just literally heads and bodies.
Yeah. So I can't say I have a picture that kind of shows like the lawn every year, because the homecomings kind of changed after a few years, right? Like even like certain locations are different. Like, we're using more of the lawn now with food trucks. That may have started maybe 18, 17, but if you go back to 2012, 2011, it wasn't really like that, right? So I don't have a picture like that, but I definitely have a picture and video from. One thing I definitely did well was I invested in photos and videos of my events. Even when people was like, yo, you paying too much, or, oh, we shouldn't pay that. Like I always paid it. Now, keeping it and locating it is a whole nother thing. But yeah, I definitely have a lot of the photos from the time it started to now. Yeah, man. It's amazing, brother. It's amazing.
Sweet, bro, sweet.
Yeah.
From everything that you just covered about yourself, man, from early enough on in high school, and then, we'll probably go a little bit further back. You had mentioned like having it in your mind of what it is that you wanted to do as far as, construction, and then, getting into entertainment. How significant would you say that was for you to know what you wanted to do early enough on, instead of
It was everything.
Work.
It was the key. That was the key. I was ahead of people my age. They weren't thinking about business the way I was thinking about business. They were thinking about it in the fun aspect. I was thinking about like business, because a part of it was also survival. So a part of it is I didn't have time then to think as a kid. I had to think as a man. Because my mom was a single parent. So everything was really about really trying to make it. And it was survival, which was good and bad. Mm-hmm. As you get older, you realize that was good and bad that you were in that space. Good because it pushes you, it drives you, it allows you to focus. because you have to make it. See, sometimes people have an option. They're like, well, if I don't make it, or if I don't do this, or if I don't do that, I felt like I didn't have an option. And then growing up in Brooklyn, the things that I seen at a very, very young age, I knew that I didn't want to go to jail because I've been to Rikers plenty of times. I've seen Rikers plenty of times. I seen them shackled. I seen what it looked like inside of that prison. And so that was a scare for me. And I seen that probably between 6 and 8 years old. So I was cognitive of what I was seeing. Right, I wasn't like 2. Right, so a 6-year-old in New York, you're like 12. You are way ahead of your years. So I knew what I was seeing. So when I got to Virginia and certain things started clicking, or I just knew I had to level up. I had to focus. And I don't know how did I realize that at such a young age. Now that I don't know. Okay. I don't know if that's universe, if that's DNA, I don't know what that's about, but because that's not typical that people know that early. Mm-hmm. Right. But yeah, I mean, that was the gift. I was lasered in. I was different in that space where everybody was playing. I was very serious. And some people didn't like me because of that, because I was serious. But I was serious because I had to get out of my situation.
Very true. So even touching on that, you had your way into younger years, like you said, being brought up in a single household under your mother, as you mentioned. Was your dad in the picture at all?
No.
Okay.
No, my dad wasn't in the picture at all. No calls for birthdays. I didn't exist to my dad.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't exist to my dad. And at 30, I'm 35. At 32 during the pandemic, I actually went to see my brother because I have a very close connection with my brother, my oldest brother, which is my dad's first son. Mm. The uniqueness about us is all of us have Mark in our name. My dad's name is Mark. Okay. So when I told my brother my name is Jonathan Mark, XX King, he was like, "You got Mark in your name?" I was like, "Yeah." So he didn't even know. Right. So to me and my family, I think I've been, and my dad's side, I've been like he may be my child, he may not be my child. Some people know he's my child, some people know, so it's like that with my dad. And I had to come to, in my 30s, I had to come to a understanding that him not being in my life doesn't dictate if I'm valuable or if I'm valuable or if I have value or not. Because I think what people don't realize is, when people say mommy issues or daddy issues, it's not really like a thing that you can physically see. Like what it is if your parent, like if your father, right, the person that you consider your father feels like you don't exist. Well, how can you coexist in a space where in a world where people that don't know you, right, if your own flesh and blood feel like you don't exist? So you imagine dealing with that from 8 to 30. Now, what that does for you, right? It puts you in a mode where you gotta be successful, because that's the only cure in your eyes, right? Is you don't know about counseling, therapy, we don't know about those things back then. Yeah. So back then it's like, well, I'm gonna show him. Like he don't want to be. I'm gonna show him. So a lot of what people saw in high school, a lot of what people seen as J. King, was me fighting my father internally. Mm-hmm. That was the drive. That was the falling asleep creating things, because you had to make it, right? And the making it part of it was, take care of your family and certain things, but a lot of the drive was, I have to show him,
Yeah, man. One of my favorite scenes from a movie is Ali with Will Smith, and it was that particular part of where the opponent at the time, I forgot who it was, but he kept wanting to call him Cassius Clay. And he was like, "My name is Muhammad Ali." He was like, "No, you Clay to me." And in the ring, he showed him. And so it's like, there's certain points and times in our lives. And like how you said, us coming up mid-30s now, even though counseling obviously was something that was existent, it wasn't something that stood out to us as we
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
To the point now, it's like everybody's speaking of counseling, mental health issues, and not to downplay that at all, but it's just, it's the day and time. So, with now for you, do you have any kind of a relationship with your dad?
No. I mean, it's still very difficult, right? Because I think during that experience, when I had a conversation with him, he brought up something trying to downplay my mom that happened like 30. Again, I'm at that point 32 at least. So it happened at least 33 years ago at this point where I'm not going to bring up the situation, but the situation that he brought up. And I'm like, talking about a situation that happened 33 years ago. Like, that was your response to me. Then at that point, I knew I was the wiser person in this conversation. And I had to not be disrespectful, though. So I had to remove myself and say, okay, if I stay here, this is going to be bad because I'm going to get mad. So I just haven't really re-entered his space since then, to be honest. But I would say that conversation brought closure for me. Yeah, that conversation brought closure for me. And that was more necessary than a relationship for me. The closure part was more necessary than a relationship, for sure. Yeah. Wow. I don't need the relationship at this point. I didn't been through the fire already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I need the closure because I don't need to still think about you. Or I don't need to still think about what if. Or I don't need to still think about, well, what if how different would my life have been if I had this person in my life or didn't do this mistake, or you was at my prom, or you was at my football games. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I had to close that from my life because that was going to interfere with me being a father for my daughter.
Boy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful, bro. So now fast forward that you are a father, and how old is, well, excuse me, how many children do you have?
I have one.
You have one child and
one daughter. Her name is Regal. She's 6 years old.
She's 6. Okay, cool. So what were you about to say?
My twin.
Yeah.
Love her, man. My girl.
For sure, man. So with your past and your experiences, how significant has that made your fatherhood relationship to your daughter?
Well, by me not having a father, it made me fight to be in my daughter's life. I'm a single father, so I'm not with the mother's child. I'm not with the mother of my child. So by me not being in by my father not being in my life, I knew the importance of the father figure role, which then when everything didn't work out with me and the mother of my child, I knew I couldn't just back down and let her do the things that she was doing. I had to fight, meaning that I had to go after joint custody. I had to go after joint legal. Like I had to go after those things. And I couldn't relax. You know, that's probably what my father did or other fathers did back then. And the women controlled the narrative, right? And or some of them just were deadbeats. I'm not going to blame it on the women in all the situations, but coming from how I grew up and what I've seen in my situation with my mother, the mother of my child, I realize a lot of women do come with certain issues that we have to both fix in our community. But in general, you know, that was just like a big part of dysfunction. You know what I'm saying? Like the child and the mother and how that the core of all of that is kind of where you come from. A lot of core of that is how you grew up. A lot of core of that comes from. So again, I don't want to get off topic. I hope I answers your question.
Yeah, you're good, man. You can. So you mentioned joint custody. So how has that agreement taken effect for you? Like, what kind of
it's rough. Joint custody is rough. Being a single parent is rough. It works out if you're in the same area. It works out if you're, if you live, 10, 15 minutes away from each other. Maybe those situations are ideal, but they're not ideal when you don't stay close. So originally, when I knew that it wasn't going to work out, I went after joint custody. So I have my daughter 50. So every other day, every other weekend, literally 50% of the time. Wow. And I knew that if I did that, and it was going to be hard, and it was very hard the first 4 years until she went to school. But I knew if I did that, I was at least going to create the relationship with my child. That at that point, the mother can't control that, right? And that's what I did, right? And a lot of men should kind of focus on it. I literally stopped everything I was doing, like all businesses, everything stopped because I was like, I have to be in my daughter's life, and I know. At some point, she's not going to be able to switch homes like this. She's not going to be able to go to her mom's house Monday, my house Tuesday. At some point, this is going to stop. So if that was 3-4 years, which was 4 years in this case, that allowed you time to build that relationship and that bond with your daughter, with my daughter. And that's what a lot of people see, is that bond that was created with me having her every other day, every other weekend for those 4 first years. Now, being that I'm in Baltimore, she's in DC, I get her every other weekend. But she has an iPad. So the thing about the iPad now, which is cool, is she can call me every day after school. She can FaceTime me before she go to bed. She can FaceTime when she wake up in the morning. So now, because I have those core 4 years, it's kind of easier for me, right? If you don't have those core 4 years, it can be very difficult. Child support, deadbeat. I still would call it deadbeat. I have my daughter 50-50 for my first 4 years, and I'm doing an agreement right now that the mother of my child wrote down and we agreed to, and I'm still a deadbeat. So, so that's another thing, about, having kids and having kids with certain people and understanding when people are angry and understanding language. And you gotta really know who you are when you have a kid, because you are a protector over somebody, but you at that point cannot be, somebody can have provision over you outside of God, but nobody can have provision over you now to move you around on the chessboard however they want to move you around when you now have provision over somebody else.
Yeah.
You have to be in provision, and it should be you and God, as the male, and that's it. And that was just the thing. It's like you have to be in control of yourself and know who you are, because slurs are gonna come at you, disrespect is gonna come at you. And that's why I said I don't wish it on my worst enemy. A person that don't like me, I don't wish this on anybody, because it's a lot. But it's gratifying to be a father. It's important to be a father. And coming from the space that I didn't have a father, I know how important it is. And it's more important for me to be a present father and to be an active father than me to settle and allow slurs or disrespect to come in the way of my relationship, which I think a lot of men do.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. You mentioned even right now dealing with an agreement that you've made with the mother of your daughter. And with that, how is your relationship with her? Like, besides, what you had to deal with going through, the court system, obviously, just one-on-one personally, how is your relationship with her?
It's terrible. Yeah. It's probably one of the reasons why I probably haven't resettled down, is because it's like kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde type situation. It's like, I don't even recognize this person. Not that we're not together and that type of thing, because that happens all the time. But I think once it goes to a certain level of disrespect, I think then it's like you don't even know, this person. And I think that's just where our relationship is. I'll keep it there. I'll keep it short.
Yeah. Because you did mention that, like, making that decision to become a parent, especially a father, to have to be able to know yourself.
Got you.
Even in
and
this,
if you don't, you better go down that path immediately.
because of, like, with a situation like that, you're going through the steps of wanting to make things right with the mother first, and then obviously to be in the presence of your child, and then it's kind of like, dang if you do, dang if you don't.
Exactly.
Nothing is ever right in their eyes.
Exactly.
And it's like,
exactly.
Putting all of that to the side, you just still want to be present for your child.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we won't stay there.
But even touch on that. Nothing is ever perfect. See, this is the thing. If you don't know yourself, then you are going to fall in that category of thinking that way when people project that on you. See, that's the thing. See, that's the self-identity that's the core of it. That's the Zen when you know yourself. Because it'd be like, okay, you're saying I'm a deadbeat, but I just did A, B, C, D. Like, so you can say that, but I'm strong enough, mental enough to know that that's BS. I'm sorry. So again, it's a strategy. You shouldn't have to move with strategy all the time, especially around your loved ones. But when you're dealing with the mother of a child that's no longer, you all are no longer in cahoots, it has to be strategy. It just has to be, because they're not going to always say the nice things and gratifying things, and you can't always take things personally.
Gotcha, man. We won't stay there because obviously we could, but
yeah, we definitely could. I don't want no backlash. My phone gonna blow up for that.
So with you being a single father and a single father with the joint agreement, but you having one child, having a daughter, what kind of a bar do you feel that you set? Because she's 6. Reality, 10 years from now, I ain't gonna step in y'all situation, but 10 years from now, obviously, 16, obviously,
Yeah,
girls like to gravitate to whatever direction, especially in this day and age, but we're not gonna
yeah.
speak. What kind of bar would you say that you set for whenever that young man or whoever comes around to want to be in your daughter's life?
Well, man, that's a great question, man. The bar is still being set. I would say I'm teaching my daughter the sidewalk rule. I didn't know the sidewalk until I was in my 20s. You know what I mean? So I'm teaching her men should do this and men should, and not to say men should do it all the time. And I don't want my daughter to probably be a brat. I don't want her to be like, oh my God, yeah. I don't want her to be like that, but I want her to understand that when a person loves you, they show that they love you. They show that they love you, right? They don't just say that they love you. Even when I have to pop my daughter, I pop her and then I explain to her. I want her to know that I love you. I have to pop you because I'm teaching you discipline. But I want you to know why I popped you. And just setting the bar for discipline and relationship is, I think for me, is one showing her she can have friends. She don't have to be boxed in, right? I let her, talk to my friends and friends that got other kids she connect with. Like, that's one thing I'm really crucial about, knowing that she has a community. It's not just her. Too many people think that they're alone. You know what I mean? Like, no, she has a community. She got people that know her and that love her. And again, when it comes down to relationships with boys, I mean, again, it's still new. But for me, I tell her probably 50 times a day when she with me, I love her. Like, always, I'm always kissing her. I'm always telling her she's beautiful. I'm always telling her she can be whatever she want to be. And that's really the only standpoint I can say that that's the bar that I put her in as of right now. She's 6. As she get a little older, more things are going to come out. More, hey, watch how people dress, watch how people talk, watch the type of music they listen to. Like, more so that influence is going to come out a little bit more. When I see her popping or trying to do some little twerk dance, I catch her and hey, watch that. You know what I'm saying? You're a little too young to be doing all that, and watch what you're doing, But also, she's a dancer. She's a free spirit. So I try not to block her in, expressing herself as well. So again, man, it's being a father is so great. It's like another job. And I was just blessed to have a great, like a great child to be able to father, bro. Like, it's just been fun. It's challenging, but it's fun. It's definitely fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And with that challenge, man, I want to definitely pay respects to your request that you have for today, man. So just one last thing for Walking with Dad, to the young fathers, up and coming fathers, anybody aspiring to want to become a father, married or, single father situation, what advice of any sort can you share and leave with us on today through your experiences
Oh man.
for
Yeah,
those?
we're gonna probably need the whole 4 minutes for this. What experience would I leave for up and coming fathers, young fathers, even older men that may be becoming fathers? One, heal whatever trauma, anything that you experienced in your childhood, anything that you experienced in your teenage years, or even your young 20s, or wherever you at in your age, whatever you experienced prior to you, try to heal from that going into raising a kid, because anger issues is going to come out when you're raising your kid. When you're hitting your kid, you may be hitting your kid thinking that it's your dad, adding the extra layer of to it, and it's your kid. So, or your mom, whatever. Heal. I'll probably say that's the first one. 2, make sure you knowledgeable and got some education and bringing in some revenue that you can take care of yourself. And if you don't, go and get go get a PMP, or go get a certification to make sure you're able to take care of yourself, because it's hard and it's expensive to raise kids. Just being transparent, it's not easy. It's not, I'm in 6 figures. I'm not making under 6 figures, and it's still hard for me. So it's not an easy game to raise a kid. So that's very important for me. So healing, make sure you're getting some type of good revenue, making some money for yourself. I would say make sure you're fit mentally and physically. You don't got to have a 6-pack. but make sure that you are implementing things in your body and your mind that you can transfer to your kid. Whether it's even it's drinking water, whether it's, for me, it's acai bowls, it's fruit, it's water. That's what goes on in my household. So working out, meditation, these are things that I implemented in my household that my daughter is able to do. So now, right? So when she's being irate, I can tell her go meditate, right? Or when she's on this Sunday, she knows she needs to go meditate because it's wind down time, right? So that's a big thing. Making sure you're good so you can pass on certain traits to your kids. So healing, make sure you get to the bag, working out, fitness. In the woman that you are trying to pursue, be very mindful of what she's showing you. Do not ignore what she's showing you. Women will show you things, but you will be blinded because she has long hair or she fits a description that you deem that's what you thought you wanted. And it's a lot of pretty women that are ugly. So you just got to be very mindful of who you're dating. Young man, older man, man, you about to have a baby. Just be mindful of who you're dating. Ask the right questions. That's one thing I do now when I'm dating. I ask the right questions, and it already puts women in certain categories. You're already, so be sure to ask the right questions, but just be mindful. Be mindful who you dating. Any woman that hits you, don't respect you, got to go off that. One thing I tell my younger self, don't deal with no abuse. Ain't no coming back from abuse. No, none of that. Therapy, man. Seek therapy. Seek therapy as a couple with the mom. If y'all together, or the wife. Seek couple just for yourself. But make sure you go seek that therapy for yourself. Man, I think those are my core ones, man. Off the top of my head, other than reading, getting some knowledge in you too. But those are my core ones.
Hey, man. Well, I appreciate all of that, man. And with Dad, definitely appreciate you today. Thank you for
Walking with Dad.
Yes, sir. Walking with Dad.
This was good, man. I appreciate the opportunity, man. You got some nuggets out of it.
That was definitely the plan and the intention, man. And for Walking with Dad, if you also got some nuggets and some value of any sort, please like, comment, subscribe, and for sure share with family, friends, and anybody of who this is needed and necessary for. And
Nate, hey, boy, this is up, man. This is nice.
Dude, Jay, we will see you next time on the next episode.